so much fun to write, and like me, it's still a little bit surreal for me to finally be doing this, talking about the book, just because it was in my mind for so long and writing it. But it's great. It was fun.
So do you have a favorite part of the U.S. that you like the best Mexican food? I mean,
No, it's the argument that I make in my book. The argument that I make in my book is that we can't say that there's an authentic Mexican food because there's so many regional traditions. A lot of them, like the food in Southern California, it's different from the food in Arizona, the Sonoran style of cuisine. And then right to the next state, New Mexico has its own whole other. I just came from Albuquerque, so it has its own traditions. And then of course Tex-Mex has its own traditions. And now as Mexican food is spread around the United States, you have all these different traditions. Like one dish I always like to talk about because people just go like, what the hell? Up in like the upper Midwest, they have their breakfast burritos. They make them with tater tots. And tater tots actually play in the Mexican cuisine of the upper Midwest and going out to Washington. Tater tots play a big role in Mexican food, but they don't call them tater tots. They either call them Mexi fries or potato olé.
So taco time. I'm from the Northwest.
Taco time, yes, taco time.
Has those tater tots.
The Mexi fries.
Really?
They're the ones who created it.
Okay.
I talk about taco time in the book, the history of it. And he started serving these Mexi fries in the early 1960s. And then a chain called Taco John's from Wyoming, they copied it and they spread it. They're actually the third largest Mexican fast food chain in the United States, after Taco Bell and Del Taco. But for us in California, we've never heard of Taco John's. It's such a concentrated chain. It goes no further west than Idaho, no further east than Wisconsin, up to the Canadian border, and then almost no further south than Nebraska. So over 500 of these, all in that area.
Wow.
Yes, when I first found out about them when I went to South Dakota. I went to South Dakota State to what was it? Is it Billings? I think it's Billings. Yes, it is. And so I was looking for the Mexican food there. So I told the students, okay, where do I go eat Mexican food? Okay, there's 3 places. There's this place that sucks. There's that place that sucks. And then there's this other place, Taco John's. You're probably not going to like it, but everyone loved it. So I'm like, okay, I went there, through the drive-thru, and I'm like, what are tater tots doing with Mexican food? I only had tater tots in the school cafeteria, not with Mexican food. And so I ate it, and it could work. My only problem with this breakfast burrito, the cheese that they use, it was like nacho cheese. Not a good flavor to it, but everything else is great. Like that crunch with the flour tortillas and the salsa. It's a whole trip. But most people, they see it, they're like, that's not Mexican food. It's a style of Mexican food. That's what I would argue. They'll just go off. Hopefully you'll see me on The Daily Show or CNN or Good Morning America. I've been on all those shows before, by the way, but a couple years back. Sure. Then after that, I'm cut. Was I on a Sunday morning show? I'm trying to think. No, I've never been on a Sunday morning show.
Sorry, like in that kind of setting, though, 3 or 4 different, like a panel,
No, I've been on all the weekday morning shows. So Good Morning America, CBS This Morning, Today on NBC. I've been on those shows, but not on those. I mean, maybe you saw me. It could have been just a smaller public television one. That's all, but thank you.
You're welcome.
Prickly Pear Margarita, folks. It's really good.
Yeah, we had one.
Oh, good. Good for you.
I guess that's one thing. I kind of watch MSNBC a lot, and then they have a lot of diversity of people on the staff. But then I think they had Rick Sanchez for a while, and then he screwed up.
Petered out.
He screwed up, said something, and then scared people away or whatever. But they really still don't have any Latino regular representative on
Well, did you guys see The Daily Show with Al Madrigal and Totally Fried, that guy in Tucson? Oh my, the Tucson board trustee, you know how they banned Mexican American studies, so they got this really funny comic. His name's Al Madrigal from San Francisco. So he's now, I think they call him the senior Mexican correspondent or something, some funny name. Yeah. So
on the Daily Show, he's a regular on the Daily Show.
Yeah, he's a regular on the Daily Show. So he had this segment where he went down and investigated this Mexican American studies down in Tucson. So he interviewed this trustee who said, Rosa Clark was the woman who sat at the back of the bus. Wouldn't go. Yeah, Rosa Clark, and then said that, well, the reason what the teachers did to create this Mexican American Studies program, they would bribe the students with burritos. It was you have to see it. It's been all over the internet for the past couple of weeks, and so I read all about it, and it just sounded bad. And then I saw it, I'm like, oh my god, I hadn't seen anything that brutal yet funny in a that's stupid, in a long time. So, but he's, in terms of diversity, Al's great, and good, kudos for the Daily Show for realizing, hey, there's a lot of Latinos. It's a big issue right now, so we might as well get a Latino, not because he's a Latino, but because he's a talented guy, and he did it. And Al's great. I mean, I can't wait to see more of these segments that he has. So funny. Oh my god. Yeah, you guys have to see it. You're literally, your jaw's gonna drop, and you're gonna be like, oh my god, that guy is a moron. Absolute moron. Funny thing is, last year the Frito-Lay executive that greenlighted Doritos, he died. So of course it was a national story, obituary, all the main newspapers. But they all told the wrong story. They all said that this guy found out about Doritos down in San Diego, but it happened at Disneyland. I found that out when that happened. I knew every newspaper was telling the wrong story, but I didn't want to say anything because I was like, no, I have to save it for the book. So when I read, I'm like, you guys don't even know your history, and it's very telling that all newspapers made a mistake as simple as that, and that's why I love doing the book. Just writing about history, but more importantly, again, it's a food book, so. The best possible compliment that I could receive for the book is, after I read it, I got hungry. That's the best possible compliment I could get. That's what a food critic lives for. Because in Orange County, I'm the editor for the LC Weekly, but I've been the food critic there for a decade now. And so, as a writer, that's what you want to hear when you write something. After I read your book, I got hungry and I went to go there. That's like manna. That's gold for us. So
did you confirm because I saw it on some Food Network, they talked about the nachos were invented in either El Paso or Juarez?
No, nachos were invented in Piedras Negras, Mexico, by a chef named Ignacio Anaya. What happened was you had some military wives from Eagle Pass, went across the border to Piedras Negras, shopping day. They get to this Mexican restaurant, so they asked Ignacio, oh, can you make us something special? So Ignacio didn't know what to do, so he just got a bunch of tortilla chips, fried them, put cheese on them, and called them Nacho Special, because the nickname for Ignacio is Nacho. And so this happened it's in the book, 1947, not that long ago. So then what usually happens with Texan cooking, Tex-Mex, you get it right there in the valley, then it makes its way up to San Antonio, and then from San Antonio it just spreads all around. So what happened was, it started in the late 40s, made its way to San Antonio, so it became a San Antonio specialty. Then a waitress from San Antonio, she moved out to Los Angeles, became a waitress in a very famous restaurant called the Cholo Café. And from there, nachos just took off. Once it got into LA, all the Hollywood folks started getting all interested in it. But nachos really didn't become the hit they are today until the 1970s, when a guy by the name of Frank Liberto, he created ballpark nachos, and now they're all across the United States. And then trivia for music buffs, Frank is the first cousin of Vivian Cash, Johnny Cash's first wife. Yeah, that's for all us Johnny Cash fans. Everyone else is like, whatever. But when I read that, I'm like, whoa, that's kind of random. Johnny Cash's cousin-in-law, or former cousin-in-law, created ballpark nachos.
6 degrees of separation.
I know, seriously. 6 degrees of Johnny Cash.
I heard you say 1947, not that long ago.
Yeah.
Bless you.
No, 1947 was not that long ago. No.
Bless you.
No, don't worry about it.
How much of our food is influenced by the Spaniards?
How much of Mexican food is influenced by the Spaniards? Almost a big chunk of it. So, what I tell people when they say like, oh, I only eat authentic Mexican food, I'm like, okay, if you want to play that game, then you have to eliminate beef, pork, chicken, lamb, rice, and tequila. And not just for starters. I know, that's like, okay, why even bother with it after that? That's basically Mexican food, but all of that came over with the Spaniards. And like, there's so much of Mexican food that was influenced by other cuisines. Negra Modelo, Bohemia, all Mexican beers came from German, Czech, and Austrian immigrants. Al Pastor, which is amazing meat, came from Lebanese immigrants. There's Chinese traditions in Mexican food. There's other European. Pan dulce, Mexican sweetbread. It's all basically French. It's all French traditions. Like I don't know the names of them in French, but like there's certain pan dulces that are just basically French pastries. So if you boil it down to what was the food that only Mexicans were eating before the conquest, you're reduced to tortillas, tamales, pulque, which is basically fermented agave sap, and then a certain type of barbecue style called michote, which you could use that barbecue style, but the Aztecs used it with salamanders, with dogs, with what was around there at the time. So and
what
that's
about salsa? Isn't that
salsa's Mexican.
Yeah.
Salsa's Mexican, but because you have the chili pepper and all that. So that's not a bad existence. But then all Mexican food. Mexico, by definition, is a mix of cultures. Like there is no monolithic Mexican culture that it's only that. Even in Mexico, you have different traditions. Up here in the north, northern Mexico, people eat flour tortillas. My parents, they never ate flour tortillas until they came to the United States in the late 60s, because for them it's corn. But then you go down all the ways down south to Oaxaca, they have tortillas like this big called tlayudas, and they're really, really good. But it's all about the different traditions. So, the Spaniards played a big influence, and that's okay. That's okay. I don't want to lose my carne asada. I need my carne asada. So I thank the Spaniards for that. For bringing over cows and your, borrego and all that.